Imagine stepping through castle doors where magic hums in every stone, where your biggest worry is whether the stairs will decide to move while you're climbing them. Welcome to whispered sleep sagas, where starlit tales unravel into dreams. Dim the lights, nestle into your cozier spot, exhale your cares, sink into softness, and let tonight's story, gentler than a house elf's lullaby, carry you to sleep's cozy embrace. If this tale lulled you toward dreams, or made you chuckle like a first year trying to pronounce Alohomora, give it a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from. I would like to know how far my stories travel. No pressure. My ego's as sturdy as a centuries-old castle foundation. But your support keeps the firelit stories burning. The ancient stones of Hogwarts Castle have witnessed countless first-year students stumble through their doors, wide-eyed and wondering if they've accidentally wandered into a fever dream. Magic seeps from every crevice here, older than memory, more persistent than a cat demanding breakfast. The castle itself seems alive, breathing with the rhythm of spells cast and lessons learned. Its corridors stretching like arteries through a body made of stone and starlight. You are Lyra Nightingale, and your story begins on a September morning when the Scottish Highlands wear mist like a comfortable old cloak. The great hall stretches before you, vast as a cathedral and twice as intimidating, its enchanted ceiling reflecting a sky that shifts from dawn pink to morning gold. 4 long tables run the length of the hall, each bearing the colors of houses whose rivalries stretch back nearly 1,000 years. Gryffindor's crimson and gold gleam like fresh courage. Ravenclaw's blue and bronze shimmer with the promise of wisdom. Hufflepuff's yellow and black radiate warmth and loyalty, while Slytherin's green and silver whisper of ambition, sharp as winter frost. The Sorting Hat sits upon its stool like an ancient judge, more wrinkled than a century-old apple, and infinitely more opinionated. It has sorted students since the founders themselves walked these halls, its worn fabric holding memories of every choice, every destiny it has shaped. You shuffle forward with the other first years, your legs feeling less reliable than a chocolate cauldron in direct sunlight. Nightingale, Lyra. Professor McGonagall's voice carries across the hall with the authority of someone who has never met a rule she couldn't enforce, or a student she couldn't intimidate into excellence. You approach the stool, your robes feeling 3 sizes too large, and your confidence about as substantial as morning mist. The hat settles over your head, its brim falling past your eyes, plunging you into a world of whispered thoughts and ancient magic. Ah, another young mind to explore. The hat murmurs directly into your thoughts, its voice carrying the weight of centuries. Courage, yes, but tempered with caution. Intelligence that questions rather than simply accepts. Loyalty that runs deeper than roots, and ambition enough to reach for stars. The great hall holds its breath, waiting. Students lean forward at their tables, eager to see which house will claim you. The hat deliberates, weighing aspects of your character like a merchant examining precious gems. Finally, with the satisfied tone of a puzzle solved, it announces, Hufflepuff. The table exploded in yellow and black cheers as warmly as summer sunshine breaking through storm clouds. You make your way to the Hufflepuff table, where students part to make room with genuine smiles and welcoming gestures. A 5th year with kind eyes and freckles like constellation points pats the bench beside her. Welcome home. she says simply, and somehow, impossibly, it feels true. The Hufflepuff common room becomes your sanctuary, tucked away near the castle's kitchens, where the scent of baking bread mingles with the earthy smell of the underground chambers. Round windows look out onto grounds that roll away like a green carpet toward the forbidden forest. The common room itself embraces you with overstuffed armchairs the color of honey, tapestries depicting dancing badgers, and a fireplace that crackles with perpetual warmth. Here, competition gives way to collaboration, and success is measured, not in points won, but in friends supported. Your dormitory sits like a cozy burrow, its curved walls painted in soothing earth tones and dotted with copper accents that gleam like captured firelight. 4 poster beds, draped in yellow hangings, create private havens, while windows placed just above ground level offer glimpses of student feet hurrying past to morning classes. You unpack your trunk with reverent care, placing your spell books on the nightstand and hanging your spare robes in a wardrobe that smells faintly of cedar and lavender. Classes at Hogwarts unfold like a series of small miracles wrapped in academic respectability. Transfiguration with Professor McGonagall demands precision that would make a Swiss clockmaker weep with envy. She demonstrates turning a matchstick into a needle with movements so precise they seem choreographed by the universe itself. Your own attempts produce what generously might be called artistic interpretations of the assignment. Matchsticks that bend like arthritic fingers or needles that retain suspicious burn marks. Magic is not about wishful thinking, Miss Nightingale, Professor McGonagall observes as your matchstick transforms into something resembling a very thin, very confused caterpillar. It requires discipline, focus, and the understanding that the universe has rules, even magical ones. You nod seriously, though privately you suspect the universe's rules were written by someone with a twisted sense of humor. Your matchstick eventually achieves needle-like properties, though it maintains a stubborn tendency to bend backward, as if protesting its transformation from useful fire starter to implement of textile torture. Charms class with Professor Flitwick feels like learning to conduct an orchestra where half the instruments have minds of their own. The diminutive professor perches on his stack of books like a cheerful bird, his wand movements as delicate as a dancer's gestures. The levitation charm, he squeaks with enthusiasm that could power a small village, is all about the swish and flick, like coaxing a reluctant cat from under a bed. Your feather sits on the desk with the stolid determination of an object that has no intention of defying gravity, regardless of how many times you swish and flick at it. Around you, other students achieve varying degrees of success. Cedric Brightwater, a second-year Hufflepuff, with the patience of a saint and hands steadier than a master painter's, guides you through the wand movement with gentle corrections. Feel the magic, he suggests, his own feather dancing through the air like a leaf on an autumn breeze. Don't force it. Magic responds better to invitation than demand. You adjust your approach, imagining the magic as a shy creature that needs coaxing rather than commanding. Your feather quivers, lifts an inch, then settles back down with what you swear is a sigh of relief. Progress, even if it's the magical equivalent of teaching a stone to skip. Potions in the dungeons creates an atmosphere thick enough to slice with a ceremonial blade. The classroom squats beneath the castle, like a medieval laboratory, its stone walls lined with jars containing ingredients that definitely weren't meant for polite conversation. Pickled things float in murky solutions. Dried specimens hang from hooks like bizarre decorations. And somewhere in the shadows, something occasionally makes sounds that suggest it might still be partially alive. Professor Snape glides between cauldrons like a particularly ominous shadow, his presence capable of curdling fresh milk at 20 paces. His voice carries the warmth of a winter grave as he outlines the precise art of potion brewing. Potions, he intones, each word dropping like stones into still water, require exact measurements, perfect timing, and the understanding that one mistake can transform a healing draught into something considerably less beneficial. Your cauldron bubbles with a simple cure for Boyle's potion, the ingredients measured with the precision of someone who has no desire to explain why their eyebrows suddenly disappeared. Dried nettles, crushed snake fangs, stewed horned slugs, and porcupine quills added in precise sequence. The potion should achieve a pleasant pink color, like the blush on a maiden's cheek or the dawn light on fresh snow. Instead, your cauldron produces something closer to the color of an angry sunset after a particularly bad day. The consistency resembles porridge that has given up on life, and the smell suggests that several small creatures may have expired in the brewing process. You stir counterclockwise as instructed, counting 13 turns, with the dedication of someone following a recipe for world peace. Miss Nightingale, Professor Snape materializes beside your cauldron like a particularly unwelcome genie. Your potion has achieved a color I typically associate with advanced decomposition. Explain. You examine your work with the critical eye of someone trying to find artistic merit in a toddler's finger painting. I believe, sir, that my porcupine quills may have been added with excessive enthusiasm. His expression suggests that excessive enthusiasm ranks somewhere below plague on his list of classroom virtues. Indeed, in future, remember that potions respond poorly to optimism, untempered by precision. Defense against the dark arts rotates through professors with the regularity of seasonal fashion, each bringing their own particular interpretation of what constitutes adequate preparation against malevolent forces. This year's instructor, Professor Thornwick, approaches the subject with the methodical thoroughness of someone cataloguing dangers for posterity. She's a witch whose grey hair is pulled back severely and whose eyes hold the sharp awareness of someone who has seen things that textbooks only hint at. The dark arts, she explains, her voice carrying the weight of hard-won experience, are not merely spells cast with malicious intent. They represent a philosophy that views power as the highest virtue and others as obstacles to be removed or tools to be used. The classroom feels smaller when she speaks of darkness, as if shadows gather to listen. You practice the basic defensive spells, Protego to shield, Expelliarmus to disarm, Lumos to banish darkness. Your shield charm flickers like a candle in wind, more suggestion than protection, but Professor Thornwick nods approvingly at your persistence. Magic, Miss Nightingale, is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. But unlike physical strength, magical power grows through understanding, not just repetition. Herbology with Professor Sprout transforms you into a gardener of the impossible, tending plants that would make botanists question their sanity and career choices. The greenhouses stretch like crystal palaces beside the castle, their glass walls fogged with humidity and magical condensation. Inside, the air thrums with growing magic, thick as honey and twice as sweet. You work alongside mandrakes whose cries could kill, venomous tentacula that snap at anything that moves, and screaming snapdragons that live up to their name with theatrical flair. Professor Sprout moves between the plants like a conductor among orchestra members, each gesture coaxing better performance from her green charges. Plants are honest, she explains, her hands gentle as she repots a sulking devil's snare. They respond to care, patience, and understanding. Unlike people, they rarely lie about their needs or intentions. Your assigned pufferpod sits in his pot like a disgruntled green balloon, occasionally releasing small puffs of pink spores when particularly irritated. You learn to read its moods, the slight trembling that precedes a spore release, the way it leans towards sunlight like a cat seeking warmth, the contented stillness that follows proper watering, and a few kind words. Talk to them, Professor Sprout suggests when she catches you having a one-sided conversation with your pufferpod. Plants appreciate good conversation, and they're excellent listeners. They never interrupt or offer unwanted advice. History of Magic with Professor Binns tests your ability to remain conscious while learning about events that shape the wizarding world. The ghostly professor drones through lessons with the passion of someone reading an instruction manual for a particularly boring piece of furniture. Goblin rebellions blur together like identical grey sweaters, and the dates of important magical treaties become a numbing litany of numbers and names. You develop techniques for staying alert, taking detailed notes, asking yourself questions about the material, and occasionally pinching yourself when Professor Binns' voice threatens to lull you into a coma. The history itself fascinates you when you can parse it from the monotonous delivery. Stories of witches and wizards who shaped society, magical creatures fighting for rights, and the slow evolution of laws that govern magical Britain. Astronomy requires you to climb the tallest tower at midnight when the castle sleeps and the Scottish Highlands spread below like a dark ocean dotted with distant lights. Professor Sinistra guides you through the constellations, her voice carrying easily through the crisp night air as she points out celestial bodies that influence magical phenomena. The stars, she explains, adjusting your telescope to focus on Jupiter's dance through the zodiac, provide more than navigation. They influence magical currents, affect potion brewing times, and help predict when certain spells will be most effective. You map star charts with careful precision, your breath forming small clouds in the cold air as you work. The astronomy tower offers a perspective that makes your daily worries seem smaller. Up here, surrounded by infinite space and ancient light, concerns about failed spells and difficult assignments fade like morning mist. Flying lessons with Madame Hooch introduce you to the particular terror of trusting your life to a bundle of enchanted twigs. The brooms rest on the grass like sleeping creatures, their bristles twitching occasionally in response to wind or magical sensitivity. Other first years stand in various states of anticipation and terror, some bouncing with excitement, while others regard the brooms with the wariness typically reserved for unpredictable wild animals. Place your hand over your broom, Madame Hooch instructs, her yellow eyes sharp as a hawk's as she surveys the group. Say up with authority. Brooms respond to confidence, not pleading. Your broom lies on the grass with the stubborn inertia of an object that has no particular desire to move. Up, you command, putting as much authority into your voice as someone who has never successfully commanded anything more complex than a house cat. The broom twitches, rolls slightly, then settles back into comfortable immobility. Around you, brooms respond with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some leap immediately into their owner's hands, like eager pets, while others rise with the reluctant pace of teenagers asked to clean their rooms. Your broom finally achieves a half-hearted hover, about 6 inches off the ground, close enough that you can grab it with minimal dignity loss. The actual flying proves both exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. Once airborne, you discover that brooms have personalities as distinct as cats, some smooth and responsive, others stubborn and contrary. Your school broom handles like a shopping cart with a wonky wheel, requiring constant correction and occasionally veering toward destinations you never intended to visit. Lean forward to go faster, Madam Hooch calls, back to slow down. Grip with your knees, not your hands. The broom can sense tension, and tense riders make for jerky flights. You relax incrementally, allowing the broom to carry you in gentle circles around the pitch. The ground falls away beneath you, revealing Hogwarts from a perspective few students ever see. The castle's towers rising like ancient spears, the lake reflecting sky like a mirror, and the forbidden forest spreading to the horizon like a green mystery waiting to be solved. Weekends at Hogwarts unfold with the lazy pace of honey dripping from a spoon. Saturday mornings find you in the common room, working on assignments while the fire crackles companionably, and older students share stories of their years at the school. Hufflepuff House fosters collaboration over competition, so homework becomes a communal effort where knowledge flows freely and everyone contributes what they can. Susan Clearwater, a third year with an encyclopedic knowledge of magical history, helps you untangle the complexities of the Goblin Wars while munching on toast, liberated from the Great Hall. The thing about goblins, she explains, spreading marmalade with the precision of someone performing surgery, is that they have an entirely different concept of ownership than wizards do. What we call theft, they call reclamation. Marcus Goldleaf, a fourth year whose charms homework could serve as textbook examples, demonstrates wand movements with the patience of someone genuinely invested in your success. The key to levitation, he says, guiding your wand through the proper motion, is thinking of the object as wanting to fly. Magic works better when you align with natural forces rather than fighting them. Sunday afternoons often find you exploring the castle's seemingly infinite corridors and hidden passages. Hogwarts reveals itself slowly, like a flower blooming over centuries rather than days. You discover alcoves lined with portraits whose subjects gossip across frames, suits of armor that occasionally wave or offer unsolicited advice, and staircases that move with the unpredictable timing of a cat, deciding whether it wants to be inside or outside. The library becomes your sanctuary, its tall shelves stretching toward a ceiling lost in scholarly shadows. Madame Pince patrols between the stacks like a particularly militant librarian, her sharp eyes capable of detecting rule violations from impressive distances. The books themselves seem alive, some whispering to each other in languages you don't recognize, others glowing faintly when touched by readers whose interests align with their contents. you discover sections devoted to subjects that didn't appear on any first-year curriculum. Ancient runes that pulse with contained magic, bestiaries illustrated with creatures that seem to move when you're not looking directly at them, and theoretical magic texts that make your head spin with concepts you won't understand for years. The restricted section lurks behind a rope barrier like a particularly tempting forbidden fruit, its shelves holding books that occasionally emit sounds suggesting their contents might be actively malevolent. You resist the urge to investigate, partly from respect for rules and partly from the practical understanding that some knowledge comes with prices you're not prepared to pay. Halloween arrives at Hogwarts like a favorite relative who brings interesting stories and questionable gifts. The Great Hall transforms into a masterpiece of atmospheric decoration. Floating jack-o'-lanterns drift between the tables like orange moons. Live bats flutter around the enchanted ceiling, and the feast features foods that seem designed to test both courage and digestive fortitude. You sit at the Hufflepuff table, sharing stories and sweets with housemates who have become as familiar as family members. The conversation flows around you like a warm river, touching on classes, professors, upcoming Quidditch matches, and the thousand small dramas that make up school life. Professor Snape actually smiled during potions yesterday, whispers Eleanor Brightstone, a second year whose talent for observation rivals that of professional investigators. It was terrifying. I'm still not sure what it meant. Maybe his coffee was particularly good, suggests Thomas Milbrook, whose optimism could power the castle's lighting system. Or perhaps he received good news about something appropriately sinister. The evening concludes with a ghost story told by nearly headless Nick, whose theatrical presentation style would make professional actors weep with envy. His tale of the wailing widow of Ravenclaw Tower manages to be simultaneously chilling and oddly comforting, like being scared by a favorite uncle who knows exactly how much terror you can handle. November brings the first snow to Hogwarts, transforming the grounds into a wonderland that seems designed by someone with an advanced degree in picturesque beauty. The lake freezes at its edges, creating patterns like nature's own stained glass, while the trees in the Forbidden Forest wear white robes that make them look like ancient druids gathering for mysterious ceremonies. Your breath fogs in the cold air as you hurry between classes, your robes wrapped tightly around you like protective magic. The castle's interior maintains its warmth through spells layered like geological strata, each generation of students and teachers adding their own contributions to the complex magical heating system. Potions class becomes more tolerable as your skills slowly improve from catastrophically dangerous to merely worrying. Your shrinking potion achieves the correct consistency, though it reduces objects to approximately half the intended size. Professor Snape's comments evolve from withering contempt to grudging acknowledgement that you probably won't accidentally poison anyone. Your technique, Miss Nightingale, while unorthodox, appears to produce results that fall within acceptable parameters, he observes, examining your latest creation with the expression of someone inspecting evidence of a minor miracle. Continue this trajectory, and you may eventually brew potions that serve their intended purposes. Transfiguration presents ongoing challenges that test both your patience and your growing magical abilities. Your attempts to transform mice into snuff boxes result in containers that occasionally squeak when opened and show a disturbing tendency to nibble on nearby objects. Professor McGonagall's feedback carries the measured tone of someone accustomed to managing ambitious students whose reach exceeds their grasp. Magic, Miss Nightingale, requires the practitioner to envision the desired outcome with absolute clarity, she explains, demonstrating the spell with movements that seem to bend reality rather than merely manipulating it. If your mental image wavers, your transformation will reflect that uncertainty. You practice visualization exercises, spending quiet moments imagining the perfect transformation in precise detail. The texture of the wood, the shine of the metal hinges, the smooth operation of the lid. Gradually, your snuff boxes achieve greater stability, though they retain occasional mouse-like behaviors that suggest the transformation isn't entirely complete. December arrives with weather that makes you grateful for Hogwarts' magical heating and the warmth of Hufflepuff friendships. The approaching holidays create an atmosphere of anticipation that permeates every corridor and classroom. Students discuss plans with the excitement of people contemplating temporary parole from academic responsibilities. Some classmates prepare to return home, their trunks packed with spellbooks and stories of magical education. Others, like yourself, choose to remain at Hogwarts for the winter break, drawn by the promise of a castle transformed by holiday magic and the opportunity to explore areas usually crowded with students. The Great Hall decorates itself for the season with the enthusiasm of someone who has been planning this party all year. 12 enormous Christmas trees line the walls, their branches heavy with ornaments that range from traditional baubles to magical creatures that flutter like living decorations. Holly and mistletoe drape the stone walls, and the enchanted ceiling shows a star-filled winter sky that makes every meal feel like dining under the cosmos. Your dormitory becomes a cozy retreat where you and your remaining housemates create your own celebration traditions. Hot chocolate appears whenever someone needs warming, conjured by house elves whose dedication to student comfort borders on the supernatural. You exchange small gifts chosen with care rather than expense. Books of interesting spells, enchanted quills that write in different colors, sweets from honeydukes that taste like captured sunshine. Christmas morning arrives with the magical quality that suggests even time moves differently at Hogwarts during the holidays. You wake to find packages arranged at the foot of your bed like colorful promises of good fortune. Your mother has sent homemade cookies that somehow retain their warmth despite traveling through the postal system, while your father contributes a set of dragon-hide gloves that adjust their size to ensure perfect fit. The Christmas feast showcases the house elves' culinary artistry, elevated to the level of edible poetry. Tables groan under the weight of foods that seem designed to make every guest feel personally welcomed. Traditional turkey and ham, alongside exotic dishes that reflect the diverse backgrounds of Hogwarts students. The pudding arrives flaming with magical fire that burns without heat, creating dramatic presentations that draw applause from diners. January returns you to the rhythm of classes and assignments, but with a sense of belonging that feels as natural as breathing. The friendships forged during your first months at Hogwarts have deepened through shared experiences and mutual support. Your housemates no longer feel like strangers wearing familiar faces, but like of chosen family members whose quirks and strengths complement your own. Your magical abilities continue to develop with the steady progression of someone learning a new language. Spells that once seemed impossible now flow from your wand with increasing reliability, though you still approach new magic with the cautious respect it deserves. Professor Flitwick comments approvingly on your cheering charm, which produces effects subtle enough to lift spirits without creating manic euphoria. The mark of a skilled witch, he observes, his voice carrying the satisfaction of a teacher watching a student grasp important concepts, is not the power of her magic, but her ability to apply exactly the right amount of force to achieve the desired result. February brings the subtle signs of spring's approach, even as snow still blankets the grounds in pristine white. The days grow incrementally longer, and the lake shows signs of thawing at its center where currents prevent complete freezing. Students begin to emerge from winter hibernation, venturing outdoors for activities more complex than hurrying between buildings. You join a group of Hufflepuffs for weekend explorations of the castle grounds, your expeditions revealing details invisible during the busy term periods. The greenhouses take on the appearance of crystal palaces in the winter light, their glass walls revealing glimpses of the magical plants thriving in carefully controlled environments within. Professor Sprout occasionally invites students to assist with plant care during these quieter periods, treating the work as privilege rather than chore. You learn to tend shrivel figs, whose fruit can cure serious magical maladies, Wigan tree bark that protects against dark creatures, and soporiferous beans whose juice induces peaceful sleep when properly prepared. Plants teach patience, Professor Sprout explains as you carefully water a collection of young mandrakes, whose cries are still mild enough to cause nothing worse than temporary headaches. They grow according to their own schedule, respond to consistent care rather than dramatic gestures, and reward those who understand their needs. March arrives like a friend bearing good news, its weather suggesting that winter's grip on the Scottish Highlands might finally be loosening. The grounds show patches of green where snow has melted, and the trees display the faint haze of buds preparing to burst into leaf. Students venture outdoors with increasing frequency, their winter pale faces turned toward whatever sunshine manages to penetrate the cloud cover. Your academic progress continues its steady upward trajectory, marked by small victories that accumulate like coins in a savings jar. Your potions no longer threaten to dissolve their cauldrons. Your transfiguration attempts produce results that could reasonably be identified as the intended objects, and your charms work with enough reliability that you trust them in practical situations. Defense against the dark arts takes on new dimensions as Professor Thornwick introduces more advanced concepts designed to prepare students for the realities of a world where malevolent forces operate with intelligence and determination. The lessons balance practical spell work with theoretical understanding, ensuring that students grasp both the how and why of magical defense. A spell cast without understanding, she explains during a lesson on protective enchantments, is like a sword wielded by someone who has never studied combat. It might produce results, but those results will be unpredictable and potentially dangerous to the wielder. You practice defensive spells with partners, your shield charms growing stronger and more stable under repeated use. The magic responds to your increasing confidence, creating barriers that shimmer like heat waves, but feel solid as castle walls when tested against practice hexes. April transforms Hogwarts into a study in renewal and growing magic. The grounds explode with flowers that bloom in colours impossible in the mundane world. Blues deeper than ocean depths, yellows brighter than captured sunlight, and purples that seem to contain entire star fields within their petals. The air itself feels different, charged with the energy of growing things and the promise of approaching summer. Students shed their heavy winter robes in favor of lighter clothing that allows greater freedom of movement. The atmosphere in classes becomes more relaxed as both teachers and students respond to the improved weather and the approaching end of the academic year. Your friend circle has expanded to include students from other houses, drawn together by shared interests and complementary personalities. Study groups form and reform based on subject needs and social dynamics, creating networks of mutual support that transcend traditional house boundaries. Elena Ravencroft, a Ravenclaw whose intelligence manifests as practical problem-solving rather than abstract theorizing, helps you understand the mathematical principles underlying arithmancy. Magic follows patterns, she explains, her diagrams covering several feet of parchment with elegant calculations. Understanding those patterns allows you to predict spell behavior and modify existing magic to suit specific needs. Marcus Stoneheart, a Gryffindor whose courage expresses itself through determination rather than reckless bravery, partners with you in defense against the dark arts practice sessions. His approach to magic emphasizes persistence over flashy displays, working through problems with methodical thoroughness that produces reliable results. May arrives with weather that makes staying indoors feel like voluntary imprisonment. The lake reflects sky and clouds with perfect clarity, creating the illusion of infinite depth that draws the eye like a meditation aid. Students congregate on the grounds during every free moment, their activities ranging from serious study sessions under favorite trees to impromptu games that blend magical and mundane elements. Your magical education begins to feel less like separate subjects and more like aspects of a unified whole. Potions ingredients studied in herbology, the historical context provided in the history of magic illuminates current magical lore, and the theoretical principles explored in charms apply to practical problems encountered in other classes. Professor McGonagall assigns increasingly complex transfiguration challenges that require you to combine multiple magical principles in single spells. Your latest project involves transforming a live mouse into a crystal goblet that retains the mouse's essential life force while assuming completely different physical properties. Advanced transfiguration, she explains, observing your careful preparation of the spell, requires the practitioner to understand both the magical and mundane properties of the objects involved. You must know how crystal forms, how goblets function, and how to preserve the living essence while completely altering its expression. The spell requires 3 attempts before producing results that satisfy Professor McGonagall's exacting standards. Your goblet gleams with inner light that suggests its unusual origins, and when used for drinking, it imparts a subtle warmth that speaks to the life force contained within its crystalline structure. June brings the approaching end of your first year at Hogwarts, marked by final examinations that test everything you've learned during your months of magical education. The castle takes on the focused atmosphere of a place where serious business is conducted, students disappearing into study nooks and library carols with the dedication of people preparing for trials by ordeal. Your Hufflepuff common room becomes a collaborative study centre where knowledge flows freely and everyone contributes what they can to ensure collective success. Older students share wisdom gained through experience, while first years support each other through the stress of facing their first magical examinations. Remember, advises Sarah Brightwater, whose calm presence has anchored many late-night study sessions. The professors want you to, they're not trying to trick you or catch you making mistakes. They want to see what you've learned and how well you can apply it. The examinations themselves unfold over several days, each subject requiring different types of preparation and performance. Potions involves brewing a complex draft under Professor Snape's watchful eye, your hands steady as you measure ingredients and monitor temperatures with the precision of someone who has learned to respect the volatile nature of magical chemistry. Transfiguration asks you to demonstrate mastery of the spells studied throughout the year, each transformation building on the previous one in complexity and skill requirement. Your needle-to-matchstick conversion flows smoothly, followed by successful animal-to-object work that produces a crystal-clear water goblet from a confused but cooperative mouse. Charms testing takes place in the familiar classroom, where you first learn to make feathers float and objects shine with inner light. Professor Flitwick calls out spell names like a conductor directing an orchestra, his enthusiasm undiminished by having watched hundreds of students demonstrate the same magic year after year. Defense against the dark arts concludes with both written theory and practical spell work, your shield charms holding firm against Professor Thornwick's testing hexes, while your essay on protective enchantments earns approving nods from the examiner. The results arrive with the efficiency typical of Hogwarts administration, your scores reflecting the steady progress you've made throughout the year. No outstanding marks that would earn special recognition, but solid performance across all subjects that suggests a firm foundation for future magical education. More importantly, you realize as you pack your trunk for the journey home, the year has transformed you in ways that can't be measured by examination scores. The nervous 11-year-old who arrived at Hogwarts in September has been replaced by someone more confident, more capable, and more aware of the magical world's complexities and possibilities. Your Hufflepuff housemates gather for final conversations before the Hogwarts Express carries you back to platform 9 3/4. Promises to write regularly mix with plans for summer meetings and speculation about what next year's classes might bring. The bonds forged through shared experience feel strong enough to survive the separation of summer holidays. Professor Sprout finds you in the greenhouse during your final afternoon at the castle, your hands busy with the familiar task of tending the plants that have become like old friends over the course of the year. Your pufferpod has grown considerably, its pink spores now released in gentle puffs that smell faintly of roses and summer rain. You've developed quite the touch with magical plants, she observes, watching you adjust the soil mixture with movements that have become automatic through repetition. Plants respond to consistency and genuine care. They can sense when someone approaches them with respect rather than mere duty. The greenhouse work has taught you patience in ways that classroom lessons never could. Plants operate on their own timeline, responding to care with growth that can't be rushed or forced. The lessons apply to magic more generally, development that occurs through steady practice rather than dramatic breakthroughs, understanding that deepens gradually rather than appearing in sudden flashes of insight. As the Hogwarts Express carries you away from the castle, you watch the towers and turrets disappear behind Scottish hills with feelings that blend sadness at leaving with anticipation of return. The year has given you more than magical education. It has provided a sense of belonging to something larger than yourself. Membership in a community that spans centuries and continents. The mundane world greets you at King's Cross Station with its familiar mixture of chaos and normalcy. Your parents' faces light up with joy at your return, their questions about your year flowing in an eager stream as you navigate through crowds of muggles who remain oblivious to the magical education that has shaped your past 9 months. Your bedroom at home feels smaller than memory suggested, its walls covered with possessions that seem to belong to someone younger than the person you've become. The magical items in your trunk, spellbooks, cauldron, wand, create an odd contrast with the mundane objects that once defined your world. Summer stretches ahead like an unwritten book, its pages waiting to be filled with experiences that bridge the gap between magical education and ordinary life. You practice spells in secret, your wand movements careful and precise as you work through the exercises Professor Flitwick recommended for maintaining magical skills during the holidays. The trace prevents you from casting most magic outside school, but theory study and wand work help keep your connection to the magical world alive. Letters from Hogwarts. Friends arrive with the irregular frequency of people adjusting to summer schedules and family obligations. Susan writes about helping her aunt with magical creature care. Her descriptions of baby nifflers and adolescent bowtruckles, painting vivid pictures of a magical household in full swing. Marcus sends updates from his family's herb garden, where he's learning to cultivate magical plants under his grandmother's exacting supervision. Your parents listen to carefully edited accounts of your school year, their faces showing the mixture of pride and bewilderment common to Muggle families with magical children. They understand that you've learned important things and made good friends, but the specifics of magical education remain as foreign to them as advanced mathematics might be to a poet. You seem different, your mother observes during a quiet moment, her voice carrying the tone of someone trying to identify a change they can sense but not quite define. More confident, maybe. Like you've found something that fits. The observation touches something deep and true. Hogwarts has provided more than education. It has offered belonging, purpose, and the understanding that magic flows through the world in ways both subtle and profound. You are no longer merely someone who happens to possess magical abilities, but a witch in training, connected to traditions that stretch back through centuries of accumulated wisdom and wonder. July days blend together in a pleasant haze of relaxation and anticipation. You read voraciously, devouring magical texts with the hunger of someone discovering a new language. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling provides frameworks for understanding the principles underlying spellwork, while A History of Magic by Batilda Bagshot offers context for the traditions you are learning to join. The magical world reveals itself in glimpses and hints for those who know how to look. Diagon Alley remains off-limits without adult magical supervision, but you notice things in the mundane world that would have escaped your attention before your Hogwarts education. Plants that seem unusually healthy despite poor growing conditions. Animals that display behaviors suggesting intelligence beyond normal instinct. And occasionally, the feeling that magic has passed nearby like a breeze, carrying unfamiliar scents. August arrives with the weight of approaching return to Hogwarts, your second year promising new challenges and deeper exploration of magical knowledge. Your Hogwarts letter arrives with the familiar precision of magical postal service. Its contents listing required books that hint at more advanced studies ahead. The shopping trip to Diagon Alley becomes a pilgrimage of sorts. Your steps through the magical street, carrying the confidence of someone who belongs, rather than the wide-eyed wonder of a first-time visitor. The shops welcome you back like old friends. Ollivander's with its dusty wisdom, Flourish and Blotts with its towers of magical knowledge, and the apothecary with its mysterious ingredients waiting to be transformed into potions. Your second-year spellbooks feel heavier with promise than obligation. The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 2, by Miranda Goshawk, contains magic that builds on your first-year foundation, while Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger promises brewing challenges that will test your growing skills. The return journey to Hogwarts in September first carries different emotions than your initial trip 12 months earlier. The Hogwarts Express feels familiar now, its compartments and corridors known territory, rather than a mysterious new world. You settle into a seat with friends whose faces have become as comfortable as family. Your conversations flowing with the ease of people who share common experiences and understanding. Platform 9 3/4 bustles with the familiar chaos of families saying goodbye and students reuniting after summer separation. First years cluster together with the same mixture of excitement and terror you remember from your own arrival, their faces reflecting the universal experience of stepping into the unknown with hope and determination. The castle appears through the train windows like a vision of homecoming, its towers and turrets silhouetted against the Scottish sky with the timeless beauty of something built to endure. The lake reflects the last light of evening, and the ground spread away in familiar patterns that speak of seasons cycling through their eternal dance. You disembark at Hogsmeade Station with the casual confidence of someone returning to a place where they belong. The carriages wait to carry you up to the castle, their invisible thestral pullers moving with silent grace through the gathering dusk. You disembark at Hogsmeade Station. The journey passes in comfortable conversation with housemates, your voices mixing with dozens of others as students share summer stories and speculate about the year ahead. The Great Hall welcomes you with unchanged magnificence, its enchanted ceiling reflecting a star-filled sky that seems to promise infinite possibilities. The 4 house tables stretch along the hall's length, their occupants calling greetings and making room for returning students. The Hufflepuff table embraces you with warmth that feels like coming home after a long journey. The sorting ceremony unfolds with the same mixture of anxiety and anticipation you remember from your own experience. New first years approach the hat with trembling legs and hopeful hearts, their futures balanced on the edge of magical possibility. You watch with the perspective of someone who has walked this path, understanding now that the hat's choice represents not judgment, but recognition, seeing potential and placing it where it can flourish. Professor Dumbledore rises to address the school, his voice carrying easily through the hall as he welcomes students back to another year of magical education. His words blend practical information with gentle wisdom, reminding everyone that Hogwarts exists not just to teach magic, but to nurture the qualities that make magic meaningful: courage, wisdom, loyalty, and the ambition to use power well. The feast begins with the familiar appearance of food that seems conjured from dreams of perfect meals. House elves have outdone themselves, presenting dishes that celebrate both tradition and innovation. You eat with the appetite of someone who has missed this particular magic. Not just the food, but the community that transforms a meal into a celebration of belonging. Your second-year dormitory feels like returning to a favorite book, familiar and comforting, yet holding promise of new discoveries. Your trunk unpacks itself with practiced efficiency, spell books arranging themselves on your nightstand, while robes hang themselves in the wardrobe with movements that no longer seem miraculous, but simply magical. The difference between wonder and belonging, between visitor and resident. The first night at Hogwarts always carries special magic. The castle settling around its students like a protective embrace. You lie in your four-poster bed, listening to the gentle sounds of other students preparing for sleep, the whispered conversations and soft footsteps that create the soundtrack of school life resuming. Through your dormitory window, the grounds stretch away under starlight, the forbidden forest standing sentinel at the edge of safety, while the lake reflects moon and stars with perfect clarity. The castle itself seems to breathe around you, its ancient stones holding centuries of student dreams and fears, successes and failures, all blending into the continuous story of magical education. Your second year at Hogwarts begins with the understanding that you are no longer learning how to be a witch. You are becoming one, day by day and spell by spell. The magic flows through you with increasing naturalness, responding to your will and intent with the reliability of someone who has earned its trust through consistent practice and respect. The classes that once seemed impossibly difficult now present challenges that test your growing abilities without overwhelming them. Professor McGonagall's Transfiguration lessons build on your first-year foundation, introducing concepts that require greater precision and understanding. Your Meister Snuffbox transformations now produce containers that function perfectly, their mouse origins detectable only to magical examination. Potions with Professor Snape continues to test your patience and precision, but your growing skills earn grudging acknowledgement from the intimidating professor. Your swelling solution bubbles with the correct consistency and color, producing effects that fall within acceptable parameters for someone still learning the art of magical brewing. The rhythm of school life unfolds you like a familiar melody, its patterns of classes and meals, study and relaxation, creating structure that supports rather than constrains. You move through the castle's corridors with the confidence of someone who knows where they're going and why they belong there. Evening study sessions in the Hufflepuff common room become collaborative efforts where knowledge flows freely and everyone contributes according to their strengths. The firelight flickers over faces bent over homework, wands occasionally flicking to provide better light or to demonstrate a particularly tricky spell movement. Magic, observes Eleanor Brightwater during one such session, her voice carrying the wisdom of someone beginning to understand deeper principles, isn't really about the spells we cast. It's about learning to work with forces that are bigger than ourselves. The insight resonates with your own growing understanding. Magic demands respect, patience, and the humility to recognize that you are joining a conversation that began long before your birth and will continue long after your death. Each spell you master, each potion you brew successfully, each plant you nurture to health becomes part of that ongoing dialogue between human will and natural forces. Weekend explorations of the castle reveal new secrets and forgotten corners, each discovery adding to your mental map of Hogwarts' seemingly infinite complexity. You find alcoves perfect for quiet study, passages that provide shortcuts between distant classrooms, and windows that offer views of the grounds from perspectives you never suspected existed. The library becomes your second home, its vast collection offering answers to questions you are only beginning to learn how to ask. Madame Pince's stern exterior conceals genuine care for students who approach books with appropriate respect, and she occasionally suggests readings that expand your understanding beyond the boundaries of required coursework. Your magical abilities continue to develop with a steady progression of someone learning a new language through immersion. Spells that once required intense concentration now flow naturally from your wand, whilst your understanding of magical theory provides foundation for more advanced work. The seasons cycle through their familiar patterns, each bringing its own gifts and challenges. Autumn transforms the grounds into a masterpiece of color and texture, while winter wraps the castle in snow that makes every view look like a painting. Spring returns with the promise of renewal and growth, and summer beckons with the freedom of holidays and the anticipation of return. Through it all, Hogwarts remains constant, ancient stones holding centuries of stories, corridors echoing with the footsteps of students past and present, and the magic that flows through every surface like the castle's own heartbeat. You are part of that story now, your own experiences weaving into the larger tapestry of magical education that connects you to witches and wizards across time and space. The castle settles into the evening quiet around you, its familiar sounds creating a lullaby of belonging. Somewhere in the depths, house elves prepare for tomorrow's meals with dedication that speaks to service freely given. In the towers, professors grade papers and plan lessons with the care of people nurturing something precious. Throughout the dormitories, students sleep and dream of magic yet to be learned and adventures yet to unfold. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle pull of sleep as natural as the tide. Tomorrow will bring new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities to grow in understanding and ability. Tonight, you rest in the knowledge that you belong here, that this strange and wonderful castle has become home in ways you never imagined possible. The last thing you hear before sleep claims you is the soft whisper of wind through the corridors, carrying with it the dreams and hopes of everyone who has ever called Hogwarts home. Magic flows around you like a gentle current, connecting you to the endless story of those who choose to learn, to grow, and to use their gifts in service of something greater than themselves. In this place where magic lives and breathes in every stone, where friendship grows like the most carefully tended garden, and where the impossible becomes merely another subject to master, you have found not just education, but transformation. The young which you are becoming carries within her all the lessons learned and friendships forged, all the spells mastered and mysteries yet to explore. Sleep comes softly, gently, carrying you into dreams where magic flows like water and knowledge opens doors to infinite possibility. The castle keeps its quiet watch, holding you safe in its ancient embrace while you rest and prepare for tomorrow's adventures in the endless, wonderful world of magic. The night deepens around Hogwarts like a familiar blanket, its darkness soft and welcoming rather than threatening. In the astronomy tower, the stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns, their light filtering down through the castle's many windows to create pools of silver on stone floors worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The constellations tell stories older than human memory, their positions marking the passage of time in ways that connect you to every witch and wizard who has ever gazed upward in wonder. Your breathing slows and deepens, matching the rhythm of the castle itself as it settles into its nightly rest. The magical heating spells woven into the very stones maintain perfect comfort, wrapping you in warmth that penetrates deeper than mere temperature. This is the warmth of belonging, of being exactly where you need to be, of having found your place in the vast and wonderful tapestry of magical existence. In the depths of your mind, dreams begin to form like morning mist over the lake. You see yourself walking through corridors that stretch beyond the physical boundaries of the castle, their walls lined with portraits of witches and wizards you have yet to meet but somehow recognize. Their painted eyes follow your progress with benevolent interest, their whispered conversations creating a soundtrack of welcome that speaks to something deep in your magical soul. The dream shifts and flows like water, carrying you through seasons that pass in accelerated time. You watch yourself growing in knowledge and ability, your spells becoming more complex, your understanding deeper, your connection to the magical world strengthening like roots growing deep into rich soil. Each year at Hogwarts adds layers to your identity, building the witch you are destined to become through countless small moments of learning and discovery. Professor Sprout appears in your dream, her hands gentle as she guides you through a greenhouse that expands beyond earthly dimensions. Plants from every corner of the magical world grow here in impossible harmony. Arctic frost flowers blooming beside tropical flame lilies, their opposing natures balanced by the deep magic that underlies all growing things. Every witch, she says, her voice carrying the wisdom of someone who has spent a lifetime nurturing growth, is like a seed. Given proper care, patience, and understanding, there's no limit to what might bloom. The dream transforms again, and you find yourself in the Great Hall during a feast that seems to celebrate not just one meal, but every gathering of the magical community throughout history. Students from across the centuries sit at tables that stretch beyond sight, their faces reflecting the timeless joy of shared knowledge and mutual support. The enchanted ceiling shows not just one sky, but all skies, dawn and dusk, storm and calm, seasons cycling in eternal dance above the eternal community of learners. Your own reflection appears in the dream's version of a mirror, but you see not just who you are now, but who you are becoming. The nervous first year is still there, always will be, but she's joined by the confident second year, the accomplished older student you'll become, and even glimpses of the adult witch whose magic will someday touch the world in ways you can't yet imagine. All versions of yourself smile back with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their path and walks it willingly. The magical creatures of the grounds visit your dreams with the gentle presence of old friends. The giant squid in the lake waves a tentacle in lazy greeting, its ancient eyes holding depths of wisdom that speak to the interconnectedness of all magical life. Unicorns step delicately through the forbidden forest, their silver light creating paths through darkness that lead always toward hope and healing. Even the portraits on the walls seem more alive in dream, their painted features animated by the love they bear for the students who pass beneath their watchful gaze. Your dormitory mates sleep peacefully around you, their breathing creating a gentle symphony of contentment that speaks to the deep security of shared experience. Elena's face wears the slight smile of someone dreaming of successful spells, while Susan murmurs softly about ingredients for particularly complex potions. Marcus shifts slightly, his hand moving as if practicing wand movements in his sleep. Dedication to magical learning extending even into dreams. The common room fire burns eternal in your sleeping mind, its flames dancing with colors that exist only in magical spaces, blues deeper than midnight sky, golds brighter than summer sunshine, and purples that seem to contain entire galaxies within their depths. Around this eternal flame, students from across the years and the houses gather in harmony, their individual strengths combining to create something greater than the sum of its parts. In this dreaming place, magic flows visible as streams of light that connect every living thing in patterns of beauty so complex they make the most intricate spell work seem simple by comparison. You see how your own growing abilities add threads to this vast tapestry, how every spell learned and friendship forged strengthens the entire magical community. Understanding floods through you like warm honey. You are not just learning magic. You are becoming part of magic itself. The dream deepens into pure sensation and emotion beyond images and specific scenes. You feel the ancient patience of stones that have witnessed countless generations of students, the eager anticipation of spellbooks waiting to share their secrets, the gentle pride of professors watching young minds open to possibility. Most deeply of all, you feel the love that underlies everything, the love of knowledge, of community, of magic itself that draws souls together across time and space. Your breathing becomes so slow and gentle that it barely stirs the air around you. The boundary between sleep and waking dissolves like morning mist, leaving only the deep peace of someone who has found their true home. Magic flows through your dreams like a lullaby, carrying whispers of spells yet to be learned, friendships yet to be forged, and adventures yet to unfold in the endless, wonderful world that has opened its arms to welcome you. The last conscious thought that drifts through your mind before complete sleep claims you is simple and profound. You belong here, in this place where magic lives and breathes, where friendship grows like the most carefully tended garden, and where every day brings new opportunities to grow in wisdom, power, and understanding. You are home, truly and completely home, wrapped in the gentle embrace of Hogwarts and the infinite possibilities that stretch ahead like stars in the magical night sky. Sleep, deep and peaceful, carries you away on wings of contentment into dreams where magic flows like water and you dance among the stars with all the witches and wizards who have ever called this castle home. The story continues, will always continue, in the quiet spaces between heartbeats where magic lives eternal and love conquers all. The castle's ancient magic wraps around you like the softest blanket, its protective spells woven by generations of caring hands, ensuring that every student rests in perfect safety and comfort. The walls themselves seem to pulse gently with accumulated love. Centuries of teachers nurturing young minds, friends supporting each other through challenges, and the quiet satisfaction of knowledge shared and wisdom gained. In the deepest realm of sleep, you float weightless through corridors of pure starlight, where the very air shimmers with possibility. Here, time moves differently, seasons cycling in moments, while moments stretch into eternities of perfect peace. The boundaries between dream and reality dissolve completely, leaving only the fundamental truth that magic is love made visible, and love is the force that binds all magical communities together across space and time. Your sleeping form radiates contentment so deep it seems to glow with gentle inner light. The dormitory around you breathes with the rhythm of peaceful rest. 4 young witches growing in their sleep like flowers reaching towards sunshine. The castle holds you all in its timeless embrace, patient as stone, eternal as starlight, constant as the magic that flows through every spell and every heart that calls Hogwarts home. The night passes in perfect tranquility, dreams flowing into dreams like streams joining a great river that carries all sleeping souls toward the dawn of new possibilities. Morning will come, as it always does, bringing fresh adventures and new lessons to learn. But for now, there is only peace, only the gentle rhythm of sleeping breath, only the infinite love that makes magic possible and turns a castle of stone into the most perfect home any young witch could ever hope to find. Rest now, dream now, grow now in the quiet darkness where all the best magic happens. The magic of becoming who you were always meant to be, surrounded by friends who understand, teachers who care, and a world that stretches endlessly ahead, filled with wonders yet to be discovered and spells yet to be cast. Sleep, gentle dreamer. Sleep in perfect peace. The moon leans low over Berkshire now, brushing silver on stone and slumber. The tale is told, the tea long cold, and the lion finally found his roar, or at least his pillow. If this story brought you peace, press like, subscribe, and drift back anytime. Until then, may your dreams be gentle, your heart light, and your night wrapped in hush.